Hello, I'm NBG and welcome to the channel. This is going to be my week in review. So you already saw my week 1, this is now my week 2. Week 2 is not nearly as kind to me. I made around 4 million in week 1. My numbers aren't correct. Numbers on TSM and my graph and stuff are not really exactly correct either. There's some weird things going on like that. But it looks like this week I made approximately only 600 to 700k. 600k if you count where I started coming in, but from my low point I actually gained like 700k since then. And we're just basically going to talk about that because it was a little bit of an odd week for me, and I ended up spending a ton for the mass majority of the week until about Saturday, and we're going to take a look at that, and we'll discuss some of the things I was doing, crafting, different strategies I had then, what I'm looking for now. So let's get going. So looking at my graph all the way up until like Saturday, I had actually lost money over the week, and this does a really poor job at how much it was actually ping-ponging, because I would go up like 300k and then go down like 500k and then go up like 200. It was really ping-ponging like crazy, but basically by the start of Saturday when I woke up, I was actually at about 100k loss for the week, and then from then I had a couple things left to do, and then after that it's basically been back to my normal routine. So since early Saturday, and so it's only been like 3 days of the week or whatnot since it's Tuesday now, I've gained like 720k or something since then, something like that, like 730k since Saturday. And that's just because I finally got to a point where well, let me take a step back. At the beginning of the week, we had talked about last week what some of my goals were, and I wanted to work on professions. I had profession points to get. There's other professions I wanted to level. I leveled multiple other professions, and I sunk a lot of gold into it. I sunk a lot of gold into things I thought had a chance at being, worth doing, or things that I wanted to just get to a point to where they could make me gold in the future. I did a lot of stuff like that, and I was literally spitting out my gold as fast as I was bringing it in, as I was working on a whole bunch of different professions. I was able to catch up and kind of get to where I wanted. I would argue that my professions still are not at a great spot, and what I mean by that is, like, especially on my server, you have tons of I swear to God, there's probably 80 blacksmiths on this server that are all like 100 plus blacksmithing, who make a bunch of super, perfect items basically. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff like that going on. And I'm not at that point. I'm behind that. So, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But if we're just looking at my profit this week, it is kind of a measly like 700k. At least from my low point. Technically, I guess it's like 600k, which is even worse. It was not a very good week, but again, I was spending a lot of gold on just everything. So it's really not too bad. I'm expecting this week to be a lot better. Now, of course, I had been waiting to do this video because I was hoping that the auction house would fix itself, but it's been down for like 2 hours now. It kind of screwed me last night because it was down half the time I was trying to do stuff then as well. So yeah, as a gold maker, it feels really bad when I can't use the auction house, but I guess there was something people were doing and they were able to post the auction house they weren't supposed to be able to, something to that effect. I don't really know what's going on. All I know is if I go too much longer without the auction house, I might go insane. So we're going to talk about things in a little bit of a different way. So on the 9th, I had posted a video about like 9-10 shuffles or whatever for gold making, and honestly, since Saturday, that has almost been primarily how my gold has come in. I can make a video talking about where I think professions are right now, and work orders, and just the gold economy currently. There's really a lot to talk about, but that's not really what this video is for. It's really just kind of talking about how my week went and what I did. And in this case, since Saturday, after I finally caught up on everything I wanted to do, I started doing a lot of those shuffles. I'll go ahead and maybe put it up in the corner here if you have not seen it. It's what I did. I made a whole bunch of gold just over like a day or two, and I wasn't doing it like 24/7 or anything. I would do it here and there, go out and finally do some Mythic Zeros, finally do some PvP and some other stuff, and then when I had a few minutes and I went to go recraft, I would do it again. So, for instance, one of the things in that video that I talk about is the extraction spec. So this is a inscription spec to where you need to get, actually you technically need to get 10, 10, and then you can put 20 into one of these, and you get to the point where you can break down Dark Moon cards. Part of me doesn't even want to be talking about this, but I saw multiple videos come out about this just in the last day or so. I've made a killing doing this, and we did it on the live stream this last weekend as well. It's one of those things that I just periodically look. There's a bunch that I can do. I do it for a little bit. I post them. I make 10K, 20K in 5 to 10 minutes max, and I move on about my day. That's essentially how I did it. It was really just a here and there, 5 to 10 minutes, make 10 plus K, and then move on. There was one point that I was doing it, and I don't think it was fires. I think it might have been waters that I was doing at the time. That I was making like 130K in an hour by doing it. So it's been really big for me. However, I'm suspecting that with videos and things that have come out about this method, that it's going to die like every other method I find. So, but speaking of which, not on the character to show it, but like even the standard shuffle that I was doing of the bracers that I had posted about, which thank you. I think we might even be over 10K views on that, almost 11K. That's amazing. It's by far my best video ever. Even that goes up and down. There's times I look at that I'm like, hey, this is 30K an hour right now, and then all of a sudden it tanks, and then it's not anymore. All of these shuffles are not necessarily great all the time. Kind of like when I made the video about all the shuffles. A lot of them weren't really good at that point. Even the card ones that I was able to do were not that good at that point. And then all of a sudden the next day, I was making huge profit on it. So keep that video in mind and take a look at some of those shuffles if you have the ability to do them. Yeah, it's hit and miss, but when they hit, and they hit good. So that is one thing I was making gold on this week. I would argue that the other big moneymaker this week for me had to have been the Combatant gear. It's still absolutely worth. Prices had tanked a lot, but they have since gone back up a ton. So let's go ahead and I'm going to jump in here, jump into the ledger, look at my revenue, sales, and let's go Combatant this, and look at that. I don't remember what it was in the last video. I think it might have been like 1.2 million or something, but I'm at like 1.9 million made off of the Combatant stuff. I mean, just look, the last 3 or 4 days, when I started making gold again, basically this week, like I have had a ton of sales. Like one of those days I had like 54 sales or something crazy. I can't remember what day that was. That was earlier in the week. I had like 54 sales in one day on like the Crimson Combatant gear. As you see, some of these are accidentally posted and have lost gold, but some of these prices have actually gone up on a few of these items to where they're making pretty decent profit. And all I am doing is I'm crafting it at the max quality, I'm resupplying it, I check back a couple hours later, I do a rescan, I remake anything that I need to remake, and I repost. I mean, that's all I'm doing. It's not hard work. But the point is I've made a lot of gold just off of the Combatant gear. And other than standard shuffling, it's kind of the next big crafting thing that I've done. And again, I could talk about that in a whole other video. But I really feel that if you're not able to reliably make something in like its max quality, you're kind of screwed on the gold making profession front at the moment. Some things I've noticed are they won't be profit at one moment and they will the next. There's things that I've taken, I have a spec and stuff I was going here, and my initial idea was to do like the curing and tanning. I talked about this in my original video about the direction I was going to go at the start. I was hoping that making the reinforced kits would make good gold. Well, they don't, at least not the base ones. The ones that would are the ones I don't have, which is what the frosted, wherever the hell they're at. I still don't have them. mostly because I don't really play on this, the Fierce and the Frosted. One comes from Cobalt Assembly, and then the other one is from the Maruk Hunt Spoils, which I do periodically, and hoping that I can get this and potentially make some gold on it. But it is just, it's hit and miss on this kind of stuff. So I don't have that kind of stuff yet. So it's like, anyway, my spec was all screwed up. So then I just decided, I'm going to pump in the Primordial. Why? Because then I can at least, get the bow for, just to have something. And then I started going this direction in the Primordial, and then that allowed me to make, let's see, where is it? In Furious. And I would like to be able to, my original idea was to be able to get, and this is before these started, before the market is where it's at now. But the goal was I wanted to be able to make these and at least be able to inspire T3 in hopes that made money. But by the time I caught up to be able to do that, it wasn't really worth crafting these. They might be worth crafting now. These are things that I look at periodically and watch the prices. They've gone up over the last day or so, and they might go up since this is the start of Season 1. It's hard to say if you're watching this video later than that. This is a very important week, and it's a very important few days for me specifically to watch the market and figure out what's going on and what's booming and what's going down and what I can potentially make gold on. I'm not going to talk about it in this video, but I've already seen a couple things that are skyrocketing that I can do that I might be able to make a fat amount of gold early on in these first couple days, but we will see. I'm a little stressed that I can't use the auction house so I can start doing that kind of stuff. But anyway, long story short, with leatherworking, other than making that, I was trying to do in Furious, and I found a couple other things that I was able to craft, and I noticed if I hit an Inspire craft, I was making pretty good profit. And that's kind of what I did most of the week, is I worked on a whole bunch of professions, and I had the idea of going an Inspire route to hit those T3s, to hit that T3 the easiest way possible, and boy, all I know is if I would have done that about a week earlier, that probably would have been insane in terms of gold making. And I found a couple that are okay and a couple that are not, but there's also a couple that I can do that we did it on the stream over the weekend. I was doing some gems and inspiring into T3, and we made some pretty darn good gold for just a few minutes worth of work. It was 24k profit of inspiring some T3 gems because I hit a few. There's things like that I would like to be able to do, and now that Season 1 has started, there's going to be a lot more demand for people actually wanting to upgrade their gear like that and push and start doing Mythic Plus and so on and so forth. So there's things like that, and I talked about that last week, whether it's alchemy potentially, even though I'm not really in that market at all, so it's hard for me to know. Whether it's that, enchants, gems, there's a high chance that stuff like that goes up drastically in price, just because there's going to be so much more demand. But again, if I can't be on the auction house looking at that, it's really hard for me to see the thing that's all of a sudden, rising quickly and looks like it could be make big gold. But that's exactly what I'll be looking for over these first couple of days. Well, that's the end of today's video. Not that great of a week. I did spend a lot of time getting my professions caught up. I spent a ton of gold doing it, and I didn't even start making gold until late into the weekend. I only ended up making about 700k this week. A lot of it was on shuffles and combatant gear. That's kind of the only things I've really been crafting. However, the auction house is finally back up. I'm already starting to make a decent sizable profit, so it's time for me to get back to work. So, with that said, if you like what you see here, go ahead and drop a like and a comment. Let me know what you'd like to see. Let me know what I can do better. Hopefully I can find some other shuffles, or at least keep you guys in the loop on ones that are fairly profitable. And yeah, with that, I plan on streaming this upcoming Saturday. The streams have been absolutely awesome. People have been showing up, talking a lot of gold making, doing a lot of things. It's really not necessarily a gold making stream. However, it's primarily what I do. So honestly, that's probably what I'll be doing most of the time. But I'm looking to do some Mythic Plus, do some PvP, do whatever I feel like, really. But if the gold getting is good, you can surely bet that's exactly what I'll be doing. So I will see you guys in the next video.